This podcast is sponsored by Lucky California. It's finally back, football season, and your neighborhood Lucky California can help you celebrate at the tailgate party or on the couch. Grab a tray of wings, turkey or ham sliders, dips, and more. And don't forget, Lucky California has awesome prices on adult beverages, and you save 10% more when you buy just 4 bottles. Plus, you can order online and have it delivered so you never miss a snap. For all your football fun, start with Lucky California, the golden state of eating.
Indeed, Dante Whitner joining us on the UMA guest line as he does every week here on the Tolbert, Kruger, and Brooks Show. Dante, what's happening, man? How you doing?
Hey, how you guys doing?
We are doing fine. Why did the Niners do what they did defensively in the last 37 seconds of that game?
I don't know why, but I know if they could reverse it, they probably would. I know there were some situations in the game that Kyle Shanahan wished that they would have, executed differently. Hindsight is 20/20. So I don't know why they did. I don't know why you leave Aaron Rodgers so much time on the clock. And you have to know that, going down and getting 3 is pretty easy for top-tier quarterbacks.
So with Aaron Rodgers, they were having a tough time getting to him. They really didn't at all for a couple of reasons. The Green Bay offensive line stood up. Aaron Rodgers gets rid of the ball quickly, but knowing you're not going to get any heat on him, and they seem to give a lot of room to Devontae Adams. Where's the breakdown there? Because the thought would be to do something vastly different than what they did.
Yeah, well, coverage and pressure coincide, and when the objective for a defense is to affect the quarterback position, slow down his reads, not allow him to really read the coverages before he gets the ball. And when you align in some of the basic coverages that the 49ers aligned in, you align a safety directly in the middle of the field, they were going empty for a reason, because it makes you deploy and show your coverages. As soon as they did that in the line of safety in the middle of the field, they knew what to check, where to check, how to check it. And it was just too easy of a game for a top-tier quarterback. They kind of changed it up in the second half, but by that time it was too late. You have to start these games the appropriate way. You have to affect the quarterback position, which slows down the quarterback's read, which allows the defensive line to sometimes get home. They didn't do any of that, and it was just crazy that they had opportunity to win that game. It's usually when you don't put Aaron Rodgers away, when you don't steal possessions by being able to run the football, by being able to generate first downs and get in the red zone, score points. They usually win by a large margin, but the 49ers fought back, but I just thought they could have operated better on defense.
Niners have problems offensively right now. They're averaging 3.2 yards per carry. At least they did against Green Bay. Green Bay was 28th in the league against the run. Niners are 25th in the league now in yards per rush attempt through 3 games. Dante, you're an advocate that the Niners and Kyle ought to jump ship right now from Jimmy G to Trey Lance. Tell us why.
It's only going to get harder. Defensive coordinators are telling their players, hey, these guys can't run the football. They don't want to put the game into Garoppolo's hands. So if we, as a defense, take away that running game fully, not have to commit so many guys to the run, now that Raheem Mostert is not back there and he's not putting pressure on the edges of the defense, it makes it difficult to run the RPO game. In the second half, the Green Bay Packers, they weren't biting on those play-action fakes because they knew that the 49ers weren't going to be committed and stick to the run game because they weren't having success with it. And that's where the cat and mouse. I'm here, guys. You here?
Yeah, we got you back. Yeah,
Keep flowing. Yeah, I'm sorry. He told me the last thing you heard was, I'm sorry, I don't know why I cut out, was the cat and mouse game.
Yes.
And when you go into a game and the defense knows, the defensive backs know, the defensive line know, the defensive coordinator make sure that his players know, Garoppolo's not throwing the ball down the field. We're going to sit on the short routes. We're going to take away the intermediate routes because we know that they're not going to put the ball in his hands. It makes it difficult for everybody out there to get open in an RPO game, for George Kittle to get open and operate. It makes it extremely tough. And some of those catches from receivers in the second half, they had defensive backs draped all over them. They are sitting on these routes, and it takes somebody with a strong arm that's able to get outside the pocket, put pressure on the defense to back them up, and I think Trey Lance is the guy to do that.
Dante, how much did it surprise you that the Packers won the line of scrimmage, both offensively and defensively? They got to Garoppolo, they sacked him, they knocked him down. The Packers were able to run the ball. The Niners weren't able to run the ball. It just seemed like that's where the game was won up front, and the Packers had the better of it on the offensive line and the defensive line.
Yeah, it was very, very surprising because these are supposed to be the strengths of the 49ers teams. The offensive line being able to run the ball at will, the defensive line being able to get pressure, direct pressure, consistent pressure, and being able to substitute guys and the backups not have that dramatic of a fall off. And we just haven't seen it. And one of the things on defense, I think, is if you change up some of the coverages, change up some of the philosophies, you don't have to change what you do. Just change conceptually how it looks to the quarterbacks. It'll slow down their reads, and it'll allow the front four to get home. But when you allow them basic coverages, you don't have a threat of the blitz. They know that guys are covering it man-to-man. It's going to be tough. And one thing I want to say about these coverages is when I was with Vic Fangio, we had secondary option calls that we could go to, meaning that the players on the field dictate based on formation if we should check out of a defense. Because there's certain defenses that are meant to stop the run. There's certain defenses that are meant to stop the pass. And if you call a run defense on first and second down and they come out and empty, that means that the defense is no longer a value to us because we're calling this to load the box to stop the run. So if we have a man coverage that we can check to, if they come out in a formation that says pass clearly, we can go to something that puts us in a better situation to get through that play. They don't have that right now for the 49ers, and I think that they should implement that.
One of the things Whitner breaking it down as he does every week here on the Tolbert, Kruger, and Brooks show. Dante, I wanted to ask you, Dante, about the Niners' defensive backfield situation. How much trouble could they be in with Josh Norman? Who knows with the fluid in his lungs when he's going to be able to play, although it is tracking in a positive way, and not having K1 Williams back there at nickel?
It's trouble. They had trouble they were light going into the season. So the injuries to, just starters and guys that were counted on to play significant roles, it's difficult. I know that they signed Buster Screen today. I played with him, a former teammate of mine in Cleveland. The quickness, the understanding of the game. He's similar to K1 Williams, so I don't have any problems with him being able to step in, play nickel. He's a willing tackler. But on the outside, it's trouble. And you have to know that when you put film out there, where you're giving up big plays, where you're playing single coverage, offenses are going to game plan, especially when you have rookies out there. So if Josh Norman can't go, if Buster Screen doesn't get up to, game plan action where he feels good enough, confident enough to go out there and play, the 49ers are going to pretty have to play some basic coverages if they want to get through these games.
Dante Whitner with us on the Uma guest line. Nick Bosa, I thought, played a tremendous game, but after watching the film again, it was pretty clear that Samson Ebukam, D. Ford, and Arden Key just got stonewalled all night long. I don't think those guys got near the quarterback. Ebukam especially was frustrating to watch. It seemed like, he's an edge guy with a lot of speed. He's kind of undersized. He's more of a linebacker size. You'd think they'd want to keep him wide. He got pinned inside on a number of plays. What was your evaluation of the edge rushers in this thing?
I think it's going back to fundamentals. And, you can't just step on the football field no matter what position you play and say, hey, we're just going to give maximum effort. It's a technical game in the National Football League. That's why it's professional football. So a lot of times the way that they're rushing, the mindset that goes into it, the technique that they're using is off. And then I don't think that when you play basic coverages, when you show what you're doing, when you don't disguise and slow down the quarterback read, you give your defensive line no chance. He knows exactly where his first, second, third read is. There's nothing muddy about it. So I think that goes hand in hand. If you don't disguise the coverages and make the quarterback have to hold it and think a little more, then the defensive line is not going to be able to get home. And that's a classic example of, continuity within the team. One unit helps another, and they didn't have that on Sunday night.
Hey, Dante, on the first throw of the last drive, the 25, 30-yard, whatever it was, play to Devontae Adams, is that a situation where the linebackers could have dropped deeper? Or, it was a hell of a throw. The throw was just incredible. But I'm wondering, could you be a little bit deeper and make sure you keep everything in front of you? Or was the defense, did they play it right? Did just, great throw?
Well, it's a basic cover, too, where you have five underneath guys, evenly dispersed. The corners are included. And they're asking Fred Warner to run the middle hole player, to be the deep player taken away. that 20-yard dig, 15 to 20, 25-yard dig. And when you're playing that position, he has to look up the depth of the receiver, and you can't drift, you can't assume. And the defensive staff can help them by not consistently calling cover two.
Okay.
If you give a cover two look and you consistently call it 2, 3, 4 times in a row, eventually Aaron Rodgers is going to figure out a way to get to the holes of that defense. There's other forms of cover two that can look the same but be played differently. Two trap, two man with guys underneath running with them. You put the defensive line in a rush front. You can drop one of the guys out to spy, but you'll have guys running with him on the inside playing man-to-man instead of just relying on Fred Warner back there to make a perfect drop, go up and attack the ball at the perfect time and come down with it. It's difficult because Aaron Rodgers is taught in those zone coverages, don't look where you're throwing. Manipulate it, move Fred Warner a little bit off of his drop spot, and then throw a perfect ball right to where he was supposed to be. So it's difficult in those situations, especially when the pressure wasn't there.
I'm wondering, because in basketball, now there's only 5 guys, but, you know, the box and one where you have 4 guys playing zone, 1 guy playing man-to-man, chasing a guy around. Can you do that? I mean, is that something teams do where you play a zone and just have one guy kind of hawk another guy and say, we'll play zone the rest of the on the rest of the field, but this is your guy?
No, not particularly in the NFL, especially when you have receivers. But when you move guys around, there are coverages that you can play to take away Devontae Adams. So similar, if he lines at the number 1 wide receiver position and he's closer to the line, to the sideline, there are coverages you can play. You can put the inside corner, the outside corner that's on him. You can put him in a man technique, and you can put the safety over the top, taking away the deep route, and he's taking away all intermediate routes. Or you can go to a trap. If he aligns in like the number 2 slot or number 3, you go to a trap, meaning that if he does any outside breaking routes, you have a safety over the top taking away the deep. You have a corner sitting outside looking for any of those outside routes. And if he aligns there and he goes back across the field towards the middle, you can put your safety over there and say, hey, you're going to come over and take 3. We'll just lock the backside corner, the backside receiver, who's probably a number 3 receiver. We'll put him in zero coverage. We'll take our chances over there, putting that corner in zero coverage against a number 3 or 4 receiver and take away Devontae Adams up the middle. That's what you can do when you want to take away number 1, number 2 receivers, and you can do it to running backs. So I don't know if they have the depth and sophistication within the scheme to do that and how the players do that on the run, but the best defenses in the league, what Vic Fangio was teaching in Denver, the guys that are consistently taking away the top guys and not giving up points and not getting a lot of yards, they're giving their players the ability to check the secondary and even third coverages sometimes based on what they see.
Got it. We're talking to Dante Whitner on the Yuma Guest Line. You know, Dante, we're in full agreement on the football side of this thing as far as, you know, there's no space for the Niner run game, and they're facing loaded boxes, they're running into walls, they're getting guys hurt. And Lance could create space with his arm strength and his foot speed and is just as a threat. So I'm in agreement with you that he, in a lot of ways, is the solution. But let's talk about the locker room for a second. What is the impact of switching gears, jumping off of Jimmy onto a 21-year-old rookie? You know growing pains are coming. You're watching these other rookies play. They're struggling. What's the reaction of the veterans in the room to a decision like this? Do you think that this is the right time to make that kind of a move?
Well, I've seen a lot of things that Trey Lance has been able to do in training camp firsthand. And he's just dynamic with the ball in his hands. And the way that you put pressure on defenses in the National Football League is you can't be predictable. You have to have things in your repertoire where you make the defense think and you put pressure on them and test their limits and boundaries and their rules. And Kyle Shanahan has that type of sophistication within his offense where he knows how to test the rules of defensive backs, linebackers, defensive lines, put a lot of pressure on you. When you put a guy like Trey Lance in the game, you have the option of the quarterback run. You can get to the pistol. You can do the quarterback option to the open side. You got the RPO game. You can move the pocket, sprint out. You have so many things that you can do. You're not really relying on him to read defenses. You only read defenses in special situations like third down, third and long. But then during the week of preparation, he knows what coverages they're going to be and what's going to happen. So he can continually work on that, look at different ways that they try to manipulate it, show disguises, and he'll be able to work on that. But as far as the pressure that he puts on the opposition on first and second down, opening up those run games because he can pull the ball, pulling the offensive line opposite the way you're taking the back. They have to have dual reads. Where they're trying to read the offensive line, they're trying to see the way the back is going, which way Trey Lance is going. Somebody's going to get confused. And defensive coordinators, it's tough for them to game plan versus stuff like this. You really don't know what he's going to do or which one of your players are going to be undisciplined. One guy out of his gap can be a big, huge play for this type of offense. And I've noted they're 2-1. I know that they won games, but it doesn't seem like they've been in control of these games. And these were teams that they were supposed to beat by significant margins. How can you win the Super Bowl if you can't back defenses up or run the football? You can't. And then they put pressure on your defense because now you're not on the field. You're not getting first downs. You're not stealing time away from the opposition. The defense is getting tired, and now you're in a lose-lose situation. So I just think that Trey Lance can throw the ball deep. He can put pressure. He can get guys out of their gaps. He can play with the eyes of the defense, and this offense will take off, similar to what Kaepernick did when we were there.
A very convincing argument. And as you referenced Colin Kaepernick and with that success when you were there, you kind of got the knowledge to back it up. Always appreciate the time and the insight, Dante. We'll talk to you next week, my man. Be well.
All right, talk to you guys next week. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Dante.
This podcast is sponsored by Lucky California. It's finally back, football season, and your neighborhood Lucky California can help you celebrate at the tailgate party or on the couch. Grab a tray of wings, turkey or ham sliders, dips, and more. And don't forget, Lucky California has awesome prices on adult beverages, and you save 10% more when you buy just 4 bottles. Plus, you can order online and have it delivered so you never miss a snap. For all your football fun, start with Lucky California, the Golden State of Eating.